My name is Ariel Costa. I'm from, I don't know if you guys can notice by my accent, but I'm not American. I'm from Brazil, and I've been living here in the United States for 5 years now, 5 years and a half. Uh, I kind of started in this motion graphics world by accident, actually. Uh, I always dreamed to be a live action director, to do commercials for Nike, like all this kind of pretty cool with a lot of people dancing in footage, like super uh, uh, like with this great vision that I had in my mind. But in ended up that I found the graphics on the way, and all this kind of live action kind of thing, it kind of fades, in my mind. And I started to fall in love with the idea that I can create graphics like illustrations. I always loved to illustrate when I was younger, and the idea of creating this combination of illustration and graphical and like designy kind of stuff, not just Disney kind of animation, but like the designing kind of thing, mix it with animation. For some reason, that got into me really strong. And I started to do some freelancers in Brazil. Of course, in Brazil, we don't have a big industry. Everything's super handmade. We have, at the time, we're talking about like 14, 12 years ago, we didn't have any like super big studios. We just had one big studio at the time, Lobo. I don't know if you guys heard of it, but they were super huge at the time. And we didn't have schools. My school was Andrew Kramer, and I bought the After Effects Bible. It was like this big book with a lot of After Effects, how to do kind of things. And it got me to a point that I was kind of bored to work for the Brazilian industry, and I wanted to kind of set up my own thing. And I made my own studio in Brazil, and I ran this studio for 4 years and a half. But again, because of the industry, I was not learning anything. I was not doing anything that I was proud of. Although we have like amazing artists from Brazil, we don't have this industry that support us as an industry or as a collective or anything like that. So I decided to go to a place where I could develop more my skills, develop more my way of thinking, how to do a better work and learn with people in the field, and to get the opportunity to study more. So I decided to come to America, where like here's it's where the industry happens in a really, really big way. And at the same time, it's not too far from Brazil, so I got to see my parents every year. It's not like a crazy, it is a crazy amount of hours, but it's not like if I choose Europe to leave, it's going to be really hard for me to be super far. So yeah, I came here 5 years ago, worked for this lovely studio called Roger here in Los Angeles, California. After that, I worked for 2 years in a cool studio also here in Los Angeles called Buck. And I've been freelancing after I left Buck, and it's been great.
How would you describe your work now? It's interesting that it's like people are almost using your name as to define kind of a style or a genre. And I know I've been guilty of that, where I would say, kind of an Ariel Costa approach. And, by that implying collage style or kind of existing assets, I wonder how you think about your work and if you have any kind of language to define, how you would describe it.
I would say that mainly it's mixed media.
Mm,
It's a not very new term in the industry, but
yeah.
maybe I've been trying to because I have this kind of collage thing in my background, and it's something
Mm,
that I always love to do. I like to do the researches to find the right image to manipulate, like the Photoshop part of thing. I kind of love that, and I've learned a bunch of design over at Book.
mm,
So the thing is, for me, I think it's to kind of mix it up. This, let's say, it's not analog, but it comes from an analog world
yeah.
where we have all these pictures and really old footage. And
So you had done a lot of physical collage work
sometimes,
previously? Yeah.
sometimes, yeah, 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 yeah.
Mm,
And the idea to bring this really old and vintage world and applying to a different, like to a modern design, and creating this weird combination of old and new in a
mm,
way.
mm.
It kind I don't think I'm still searching to find the right pace for that, but I'm really happy with these explorations that I've been doing,
Mm,
and to have these both different worlds clashing in
mm.
a good way. It's been really interesting, and it's fun. It's fun.
Yeah. Are people coming to you now as a director and kind of requesting and saying, we'd like you to stay in this realm, or is it more of a situation of you pitching that?
Actually, yes, yes. People, they are approaching me to do this specific style, actually,
Mm.
and more and more. And
Is it mostly studios coming to you?
not stud. To be honest, I think I don't. I not been working with studios very often
Mm.
lately. I've been working with a couple of studios, but
So it is the
mainly
clients who
it's
want
mainly,
this.
yeah,
Yeah.
mailing clients, yes.
Mm.
And I understand that my niche, it's not very, let's say, commercial. It's not for everybody,
Mm.
like I couldn't see me doing something for like Apple, for
Yeah.
example,
Sure.
in this world, or for Facebook or something like that. It's more, I would say, it's more for brands that want to be a little bit more, not weird is not the world, but they're more head open, in a way. They're more like
Yeah.
design driven, like I did
Somewhat
stuff like,
anti-corporate, anti-clean,
yes, yes,
yeah.
I would say fashion kind of thing, sports, it would be something
Mm.
cool, like music industry, they're super open to those
Yeah.
kind of things. So
Yeah.
yeah,
How did the Green Day connections come about? You did some music
yeah,
videos for them.
yeah. And again, like it started like 2.5 years ago when I decided to leave Book. Book was by far the best place that I work. It was the place that I've
Mm.
learned the most. But I wanted to find my own voice. I kind of had this free spirit. I
Mm.
kind of like to work by, not by myself, but for myself,
Yeah.
actually. And I decided to leave Book, but I wanted to do something with my own voice. And
Mm.
I don't want it to create any kind of cell animation, because I don't want to sell. Okay, this is Ariel, and Ariel is it's a former Book. I don't want to
Mm.
be a former Book. I want to be Ariel, the director or the designer.
Yeah.
And I don't want to do, and I didn't want to do anything related to the Book style.
Mm.
Because I wanted to sell my body of work.
Yeah.
So I made my this personal project at the time called Scenes.
Mm.
And since it's a full collage thing with a lot of weirdness going on, it's a different style from Book, and it was something really cool for me at the time. And for some reason, that got attention of some great clients, and one of those clients was Warner Records, and they want me to do a treatment for a band. At the time was for Red Hot Chili Peppers, but they decided to go live action for a music video. And the guy there at the time, called Devin Sarno, which is a great guy, told me that if I wanted maybe save that kind of treatment and retreat it for a different band, for Green Day, because they were about to release a new album, and I say, of course, Green Day, it's part of my life, you know, like.
So you were a fan of their music?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
It's part of my teenager years, for sure.
Yeah.
And yeah, I did a treatment for them, and lucky me, they like it, and we move forward with the music video, and everybody there was happy, and because of that my name was passed along at the label, and I got to work with Led Zeppelin after that, Mastodon, great bands, great people.
So it was that personal project that really kicked off.
Yeah, and I believe like personal projects are the best way for you to sell what you have to offer best, you know.
Yeah.
It's the kind of projects that you just don't put your style in there, you put your soul, you know, and clients, they kind of see that, you know, and that kind of project usually stands out from all commercial kind of gigs. You know? It's great.
Yeah, the Sins film is really fantastic, and thank you, Luke, for posting it in the chat.
Yes.
What's interesting to me about your work is because it is mixed media, it feels like, and you can kind of speak to it, maybe I'm wrong, that your process might look different from other studios or motion designers or people that are going to do a lot of storyboarding. I don't know how much storyboarding you do before you are in a digital environment beginning to craft things, and maybe in a little bit we could put you on the spot. If you have anything we could look at on your machine, that would be amazing. But I'd love to hear about your process and what that looks like. Do you feel like what those early stages look like? Do you have to get right into design to begin to feel out a treatment, or are you more in a sketchbook first, thinking conceptually?
I think process-wise, it's pretty much the same of everything. You know, I usually have the idea. I talk this idea with the client, and if I have time, of course, sometimes like the industry is crazy, we don't have time to do the full process. But if I have time, I like to develop a style frame, a couple of style frames, so the clients can understand what I'm going to do with their brand or whatever. And sometimes I do some storyboards, but mostly internally, or for the client to understand what I'm doing. Because basically, I kind of do the work by myself. So storyboards, it's really helpful if you were working with a team, you know, so everybody can think in a consistent way, you know, like, and we have to follow the same path until get to the end, and everybody has to have the same kind of consistency for the project. But as I've been working by myself, I just feel the necessity to do the storyboards for clients if they need to. But I kind of like, for a bunch of projects of mine, I like to go catharsis, you know, I like to see what's going to happen here. I like to come up with a transition while I'm animating, you know, because it's the moment where I have the best ideas. And whenever I can do that, I want to go with this, you know, I want to go with this kind of freedom moment. It's just like you're painting a frame or something like that. That works very well with music videos, I would say. But recently I did this project for Adidas, for Gabriel Jesus, and it was for the World Cup. And because this is a big brand and was through an agency, I had to come up with some storyboards to sell the idea for the client before I get to the animation and design phase. And yeah, but basically the process it's pretty much the same. Just the illustrations is different, you know. Instead of like doing 2D animation, I just go like with the Photoshop and collage thing.
Yeah. So kind of case by case basis, but
case by case basis, yes.
Yeah, but because you're doing it so much yourself, and because it's that mixed media, getting into style framing sooner seems like it definitely makes sense.
Yeah, and which is good about like the collage thing, it's that it's easy to do alterations. It's easier than cell animation, for example, you know.
Yeah.
For cell animation, of course, you're gonna have like the pencil test phase where clients will see the outlines and the actions, and just to do that, it's a hell of work, you know, because it's a frame by frame of the animation task that you're doing. And the client has to approve the action in that moment. Because after that, when you're finalizing the whole thing, to change that, you're gonna have like to redo the whole project. So like collage thing, it's more like the 2D kind of animation character where you can rig or not, and you can like reanimate. You don't have like to lost a lot of time.
Yeah. You mentioned that you felt like you learned a lot at Buck. Was that specifically about design and directing? What I'd love to hear more about, you know, what you feel like you were getting out of that environment.
Sure. I think I got a really good moment at Buck where all my idols, they were working there at the time. They still have like great people, but I don't know those people very much. And but at the time, I was working like with Josh Harvey. I was working with Kanisha. I was working with Gunnar Peterson. It's like it was so much talented people in the same room, and I'm a very kind of pain ass people because I ask a lot of questions, you know, and I sometimes I wanna learn how to do that. So I approach that person that like does that in the best level, and I will ask a bunch of questions, you know, for this and during that time, Buck, I had a great time working with these amazing and kind people, and they were super supportive with the team in there, and they sit down with you, they explain the process, they let you check out the open files. There's no ego involved, you know, and they were super open. And just by seeing not just these designers working, but all the animation team working, it's super inspiring, you know, the way that they're passionate about the work they're doing, and the way that they're thinking how to approach that idea. It's amazing. It's a brain feeding.
Yeah. So it's just on all fronts: technical processes, the design, the artistic.
Yes. Yeah. And how like Ryan Rooney, my boss at the time, like the one of the owners, the way that he leads things, he's a super clever guy. You know, the way that he tried to bring everybody into the same umbrella. And Buck is a big place, you know, like today they have like 150 people in staff or something like that. To have the ability to keep everybody thinking in the same way, it's really hard, you know. It's really hard. And he's great doing that, you know. He's a genius in that helm for sure.
Yeah. What do you feel like was, I mean, if you can speak to it, what was the most important thing to get better at, to really pave the way for what you're doing now, to be, you know, kind of an independent freelancer? Was it just leveling up, becoming a better animator, executing things better, or was it finding a voice and finding a style and carving out a niche?
I would say finding a voice.
Yeah,
It's the really key, you
yeah,
know, because animation, design, all those things are things that you can't be like the best. But it takes time, it takes study, and you can get there, no problem at all. It's up to you. But imagine we live in this industry where we have like tons of designers, tons of
yeah,
studios, all talented people. And what I've been seeing lately is that people are trying to mimic each other. You know, if they see something that is super trendy, they want to do that because it's cool.
yeah,
And it's really cool. And you know, like you see that, you say, man, I wish I was kind of doing, or I wish I was part of that project, or I wish I could have that in my portfolio.
yeah,
So that creates the idea that you have to have that in your portfolio.
hmm,
And what is gonna happen is that like it might be something like maybe part of your conscience or something like that. You're gonna emulate that in a way,
hmm,
you know, like with a project because you want to have something like that. So people they are kind of losing their voices because they just want to do cool stuff.
yeah,
But you can do cool stuff trying to find your. I think that's the funnest part about the motion graphics. You know, it's the greatest part. It's the exploration. You
yeah,
know, it's trying to do something different, something unusual. Because if clients wants to see a book work, they're gonna approach book. They're not gonna approach you. You know, they're not gonna approach me and have this. You know, like I'm just one guy. I can't compete with book, you know. So how can I compete with book? Not that I want to, but in terms of business, because this is a business, how can I pitch in a project against book? It's by doing something completely different from book, you
hmm,
know, like putting some quality, of course, but something different, something that not everybody is doing, you know. It might be weird, it might be okay, people they might not like, people might like a lot, but for sure it's going to stand out because it's different, you know. Basically that's it. I think you have to do something different. That's the only way that people are going to see you and say, okay, this person has something different to offer,
yeah.
you know.
Yeah, I mean, that is the part that is incredibly elusive and
Mm-hmm.
difficult and can take years to dial that in. Do you feel like you had ever imitated when you were first starting out? And did it, how
Mm-hmm.
long did it take to feel like you could kind of break out of that?
The what? I'm sorry, you cut off. Could you repeat?
Yeah, how long you felt it took? Were you imitating other people when you were starting
uh,
out, or did you try to keep?
Yeah, no, yeah, of course, I was
Yeah,
there. Of course, I was trying to mimic people, you know, like, and don't get me wrong. This is not that it's wrong, you know, like it's the best way for you to learn, you know. I did a lot of projects similar to Book, you know, like when I was working for Book, I had to play with Book cards, so I have to be part of that same style.
yeah,
So again, it was great for me to learn, you know, like so like today if I want to, I can apply that same style for different studios that are using the same style at Book.
yeah.
But I don't want to do that. I saw this great lecture from this guy called, you know him, Jim Monk.
Hmm.
He's great, like super talented dude, and he told once that it's not about using, because everybody uses reference. It's not about using reference. It's how do you use the reference and apply it to a next level, you know. So how do you get this reference and put it to the next level? Put your own flavor in that. If you like doing like 2D characters, that's fine, but trying to put something different in there, you know,
Yeah,
maybe a different texture, or maybe just an outline guy or whatever, but just trying to get what Book is doing and bringing to the next level,
yeah.
you know.
Yeah, and I think, like you said, that's only possible through the experimentation, through taking the
Totally.
hours to be okay with failing, trying different things.
Mm-hmm.
It's also, yeah, I think, one thing I think I messed up a lot when I was first learning was just like feeling like there was this rigid process that I had to follow every single time.
Sure.
And I think feeling like you should just kind of break your process sometimes and be willing to explore and experiment and try different things, to lead to something that maybe that does have a fresh feel or feels a little bit
Totally.
unique or original.